Just like with the demand, when we talk about supply, we need to be very careful about the language we use to talk about shifts in the supply curve versus movements along the supply curve. So why don't I show you this difference again in a graph to make it more clear. We need to be very careful about our language when we refer to a change in quantity supplied versus a change in supply. This is the difference between moving along a supply curve and shifting a supply curve. For this supply curve here, it's upward sloping. Let's say if we go from, say, a price of $2 to a price of $4, we would have an increase in quantity moving up along that axis from like 1.6 to 2.4 billion or something. So our quantity here are going to be in billions. So this movement here, moving up along that supply curve, will be a change in quantity supplied. Okay, that will be the movement along a curve. And so we would say as the price goes up from $2 to $4, quantity supplied will increase from 1.6 to 2.4 billion. Okay, that will be different if we have a whole new supply curve that shifts out to the right. Right? For this, we say it is an increase in supply or supply changed. Okay, so movement along, change in quantity supplied, shift to the right or shift to the left, change in supply. Okay. So we have to be very clear about that technical language. I'm going to ask you specific questions about this on the exam. The point of this is so that when we're talking about things, we know, are we talking about a movement along or a shift? We got to be very clear about that. So I want to do 2 practice questions for you here that you might see on an exam. And so for this one, consider the market for wool sweaters. An increase in the price of wool sweaters will what? A, B, C, or D. Increase or decrease the supply of wool sweaters, or increase or decrease the quantity supplied of wool sweaters. So why don't you pause here and take a few seconds to figure out what your answer might be on the exam. All right, I'll go through the answer on a graph here. So this is price and quantity. The market we're looking at are wool sweaters. And we have a supply curve that's upward sloping like this, supply. We want to think through, is it actually going to be moving along a supply curve, or we're going to have like a shift out here to something else? Okay. All right, so let's just pick a price. Our price here is going to be wool sweaters $100 to start with. What we have here is the price of wool sweaters is going to increase. Now on this graph, I want to put a little bit more notation on it. This is price of wool sweaters here on that y-axis. And so what we're saying is the price of the own good is going up. So it's going to go up from $100 to say like $200, like this. And if we just have an increase in price, we're going from point A to point B, moving up along that supply curve, and that's going to increase our quantity supplied. Right? So the answer here will be an increase in quantity supplied of wool sweaters, number C. Here's another question to differentiate between shifts in supply curves and movements along. Here we have yogurt is an important ingredient in the production of frozen yogurt. If the price of yogurt increases, what would happen to the supply of frozen yogurt, holding all other things constant? So we have a bunch of graphs here. It's the same kind of question as the previous one, but now you need to choose which of these graphs is the right movement and direction. So take a couple seconds, pause here, and come up with an answer. All right. In this question, the price of yogurt is going up. The graphs are for the market of frozen yogurt. Okay. The idea here being that yogurt here is an input into the production of frozen yogurt. And so we have an increase in input price. That's going to be one of our shifters for supply. right? So we know we're either going to have an increase in supply or a decrease in supply. And so we can get rid of B here, and we can get rid of D. Those are movements along, and those are changes in quantity supplied. And so now we need to, okay, it's a shifter. It's either going to be A or C. An increase in input price. I need to go back and memorize like what's going on there. Is it going to be increase or decrease in supply? As input prices go up, the marginal cost of production goes up. So this graph here would be an increase in marginal cost of production. So that will be a decrease in supply, right? It's shifting to the left. So here's will be our answer here, C.